So, a magical girl. Well, in this case, I suppose, magical woman. Some of you may be wondering, what is a magical girl? Just a girl that can use magic? So, is Robin a magical girl? Well, yes and no. Magical girls do use magic, but not all girls that use magic are magical girls. You see, magical girl is a genre, or at least a major trope, in Japan, so in anime primarily. It's a huge genre over there. The only real big magical girl show that made it to mainstream popularity in the States was Sailor Moon.
I want pancakes.
But the genre, being as big as it is, has inspired elements used in various Western cartoons like Steven Universe. And thankfully, this will probably be the only time I mention Steven Universe on this channel. So what makes a magical girl anime? Well, usually the target audience is younger girls, ages 6 to 12, but some have been known to go for other target audiences. The big thing about the genre is that it always features the main character or characters who are normal girls in their day-to-day lives but have some form of magical ability or magical item, one that grants them a transformation sequence, where they transform into their magical super-powered form. This transformation sequence is one of the biggest defining factors of the magical girl genre, and whoa! Naked? In a show for little girls? How old are you? Like 16? Though I suppose that is sort of the legal age of consent in Japan. Hey, don't you just hate that you know that off the top of your head, you perverted weeb? Oh, hush. Can you even be a weeaboo if you live in Japan? Yeah, and the equivalent over there is a westaboo. Actually, I just Googled it. She's 14. So it's not just you. Everyone in Japan is a perverted weeb. This is dumb. Moving on. While this being on TV seems strange in the West, this isn't considered weird at all in Japan. It's completely normal, which is why it's fine in a kid's show. In Japan, they realize that every human has a body. I mean, it's a country where public bathhouses still exist, though they are much rarer than they once were. Anyway, so the transformation sequence where these magical girls magically change from one outfit to the other super outfit is one of the biggest defining factors of a magical girl anime. And how does this relate at all to Metroid? Well, easy. Samus's suit magically appears during a sort of transformation sequence. The games don't just make a huge deal about it most of the time. But you can't just go around classifying games like Metroid as magical girl games. Metroid is sci-fi, not fantasy. Well, that's debatable. For now though, let's look at some magical girl animes. A lot of them do have the girls wielding magic wands or a magic makeup puff. But some of them do use science and technology, oftentimes cell phones, and sometimes the magic is explained as the phones being full of technology from the future. But other times it's just explained as the phones are magic. Either way, magical girls don't have to be strictly magical. They can always break the trope a little. Technically, Kill la Kill, one of my favorite anime series, is also a magical girl anime, featuring the most important tropes. And it's more sci-fi than fantasy for sure. Heck, even Code Lyoko is one somewhat. Remember that show? Wait, is Ben 10 a magical boy cartoon? But something else to note is that Metroid isn't entirely sci-fi. It's sci-fi fantasy. It has some level of magic, or I suppose pseudoscience, metaphysics, whatever it's called. I mean, Metroids eat souls, meaning souls exist. The Chozo were essentially space Buddhists whose technology was based both on science and spiritism, even having their ghosts as temple guards. So the Metroid universe is one where supernatural things can happen, and that's without considering that Samus meeting Mario and Kirby is canon, and Mario and Kirby are games filled with magic. Wait. Kirby is a Metroid! So Samus has a quote-unquote magical transformation where her suit magically appears out of the air and attaches to her, similar to magical girls. But one aspect alone does not confirm anything. So what are some other tropes of the magical girl genre? First and foremost, emotions. Frequently, battles are won not through sheer force and firepower, but through the power of love, or friendship, or being prettier and more pink than the enemy, or something. I don't know, it's girl cartoon logic. Oftentimes, the strength of the magical girl's magic comes from her emotional state. If she is sad or frightened, then the outfit or her power in general won't function properly. This trope has gone beyond the magical girl anime and into general action too. Though, general action that has some inspiration from magical girls. Referring back to Kill la Kill, for example, Ryuko's superpowered outfit doesn't work very well at first because she's embarrassed to be wearing it for at least 2 obvious reasons. Also, side note, I love how they explain why the outfit is so skimpy. If it covered up any more, then it would contain too much power for any mortal to survive wearing. Yeah, it's one of my favorite series. But, once Ryuko learns to overcome that embarrassment, the suit finally gets stronger, but at the same time, if she gets too angry, the suit will go berserk. I mean, the suit's power literally feeds off of her physically and emotionally, which is exactly what many Magical Girl suits do. And, of course, so does the Varia Suit, the iconic suit of Samus. The suit is synced up with her mental status. It has to be, and it's the only reason why only she can wear it. It took years of meditation training with avian space Buddhists for her to master it. It takes a crazy amount of concentration, focus, and determination. Oh, and they also made it specifically for her. Space pirates have tried recreating it, but none have been able to operate their recreations well enough to operate or even survive it. So, the Varia Suit, much like many other suits, especially in Magical Girl animes, is directly controlled by her mental state and emotions. And we can further confirm this by the greatly hated and firmly debated Metroid Other M. When Ridley appears, Samus has a PTSD trigger and she becomes an emotional wreck. And as a result, her suit just vanishes. So a magically transforming suit that is powered by the wearer's emotional and or mental status, that's 2 bits of evidence. Now let's add the most interesting one. Her arm cannon. The arm cannon is the main weapon of the Varia Suit, and it fires a wide variety of energy-based projectiles, from the common power beam to the ice beam, wave beam, plasma, phaser, wide, the list goes on. But all of these are energy-based, and energy is pretty easy to store. You just use a battery, the doi. But these beams are only her primary weapon. Her secondary weapon is where things get interesting. Missiles. Actual, physical, rocket-propelled, shooty boom booms. Look at the arm cannon. Now look at the missile. Now compare the two. Whoa. That missile is quite large. In fact, it's just about the same diameter of the arm cannon, if not bigger. What? So how does that work? Well, we could say that this is a bit of forced perspective. It's actually quite common for video games, especially older ones, to take some artistic liberties with the size of objects, make them larger than they actually are, especially with smaller objects. I mean, rupees aren't actually the size of people. It would be crazy to assume so. Same goes for Mario coins. Seriously, they are bigger than he is, but it wouldn't make sense to make the rupees and coins gem and coin sized in-game. You'd never be able to see them. They would literally be a single pixel on screen. Not very practical from a gameplay perspective. Too much trouble seeing them, too much trouble touching them, so you make them bigger. And the same goes for bullets and projectiles. When shot from the enemy, it makes them much easier to see and thus avoid. And when shot from you, you have a better idea of where you are aiming and where the attack hits. So while these missiles look bigger than the cannon, they aren't actually, obviously. And we can prove that by looking at the more modern Metroid games, where they are indeed smaller, but still way too large, making my last paragraph near meaningless. So now they at least look shootable. But remember, it's not like she's only carrying 1 missile at a time. She's able to hold over 200 missiles in that thing. 200 missiles of this size would be greater than the mass of the whole suit, multiple times over. So how does she do it? Well, come to think of it, what even are missile tanks? You know, the item in-game that Samus picks up to refill her missiles and raise her missile capacity. Missiles aren't usually stored inside of glass jars. I think a rocket-propelled explosive needs a little more protection than a goldfish. But just a little, at least. I mean, I'm no rocket doctor. Missile tanks are very reminiscent of energy tanks, and even the idea of an energy tank is a bit odd, come to think of it. What energy is being used? The suit doesn't have a force field around it or anything, and getting smacked by a tentacle or various other space monsters wouldn't cause the suit's batteries to suddenly drastically lose power. Come to think of it, Metroids absorb life energy, souls. They don't directly damage much in their early forms. They suck on the suit and manage to get at the soul. And when you run out of life energy, when your soul is gone, the suit still explodes off of you. Huh. Well, you know how the Chozo created the Metroids? Oh, if you didn't know that, they did. The Chozo, who are highly spiritual. The Metroids, which suck away life energy or a person's spirit or soul. The connection should be pretty obvious. So the Chozo have technology capable of stealing life energy from other beings that can then be used to create new material. We see this happening in Metroid Evolution. As they suck up more and more life, more souls, they use it to grow, meaning they are converting souls into matter of some form. So if the Chozo put that capability into the Metroids, then perhaps they put that capability in the Varia Suit as well. What if the health and ammo packs that drop from enemies that have absolutely no business carrying missiles around aren't there just because it's a video game and it needs some way for you to fill up on that stuff? I mean, really, it makes no sense that some random space creature you stumble upon has a pack of 20 missiles. And despite you completely exploding the poor thing into smithereens, that pack of ammo is still there, perfectly intact. Normally we pass off this kind of thing as just a video game trope, but no, not this time. This time they actually exist. These are made of life energy. Samus's suit has a similar ability to the life-stealing power of the Metroids, just in a weaker yet more refined manner.
A more sophisticated way to kill, yes.
Samus's suit is able to take the life energy of creatures and enemies she's killed in the form of walking over to where they died and absorbing it then. It's like her blaster sealed their life energy into this bubble. But of course, it can only hold on to the life energy for so long before disappearing. Souls are complicated things to hold on to. I would know. So Samus keeps her missiles in tanks because her missiles are a form of life energy. That's also how she is able to store over 200 of them in her suit. They are energy that gets materialized when she actually fires the missile. It's the same way that the Metroids materialize life energy into more cells for their bodies to grow and evolve. This would also explain super missiles. Samus doesn't keep an extra load of missiles on board as super missiles. Well, except in Super Metroid. She did that in Super Metroid. But in all the other Metroid games, she pulls from the same missile tank for both kinds of missiles. Super missiles just take a lot more ammo. And that's not because she duct taped 5 missiles together and called it a new thing. No, the two types of missiles look very different. This is just possible because when stored, they are energy. She can then choose if she wants to put more energy into a single missile or not, which takes more ammo energy from the tank. But it makes the missile stronger. So, fundamentally speaking, the missile tank for ammo, and the energy tank for her life, and then even for bombs and stuff perhaps, are all fundamentally the same thing, all stored as energy and materialized at will. So if anything, the missile tank is different just because it's stored in a way that makes it easier to quickly form matter from, which may be why sometimes enemies drop life or missiles. It's their type of soul, or whatever.
My soul is a blue soul because I am a Capricorn.
A Capricorn? That makes us soulmates.
And going back to her life energy in her suit, whenever you lose energy from taking damage, it isn't a force field, since we never see a reference to one ever, but it may be the suit immediately rebuilding itself, turning the life energy into matter for suit repair. For example, filling in a claw mark that got scratched into the suit. This idea of the suit absorbing life energy would also explain how upgrades work. You don't pick up new legs, new shoulders, or a new gun. You pick up a thing? An orb? Huh. You know, I don't think this will fit anywhere on my person. Or my suit, for that matter. Samus, though, maybe? No. These upgrades are schematics, combined with life energy. Her suit absorbs it and then learns how to build itself better with this new chunk of life energy. This would also explain why Samus loses these upgrades in every game. Think about Metroid Prime. Samus had a fully upgraded suit at the very beginning, then one massive slam and boom, all gone. How? Because her suit decided that rather than explode from this massive amount of damage, it could ditch all these upgrades and use its life energy from the upgrades to make emergency repairs to the suit to keep Samus alive. But here's a question. Where does she keep all that energy when in the Zero suit? Well, while in the Zero suit, she is able to summon the Varia Suit at will. In some games anyway. So perhaps the Varia Suit disappears along with most of the life energy, or perhaps these energy tank upgrades aren't necessarily upgrades to her suit, but upgrades to her. After all, the energy that is stored in enemy drops goes away after some time, but your life energy does not. Maybe life energy, maybe souls, are not so easily stored in a machine. Perhaps energy tank upgrades are upgrades to Samus, to her soul, to Samus's own soul's ability to hold more spirit energy within it. And that spirit energy is what powers her suit through focus and determination, her emotions and her mental status. So of course, the more determined she gets, the stronger she gets. And between missions, she has time to relax, and all that buildup of determination fades a bit, so by the time the next Metroid game rolls around, her energy tanks fade back down to normal human levels. And she needs to get those upgrades again. Being trained by space Buddhists, Samus is a very spiritually strong woman, which may be why she is able to take so many life energy upgrades, and why only she is capable of doing so to this extent. As I mentioned, space pirates and even the Galactic Federation have been studying her suit for years, and while they have managed to mimic some of its capabilities and put it into their own suits, they can't find a way to figure out everything to its fullest extent, because souls are hard. It's complicated pseudoscience. But anyway, what do you call a woman or girl who has a transformation sequence to materialize her suit or clothing, as well as materialize weapons from the depths of their soul, like pull a magical staff out of their heart or whatever, and all this power has a direct relationship with their mental state and or emotions? It's a magical girl. Samus is a magical girl. And thanks so much for watching. Want a Magical Girl Samus on a t-shirt or even on a display? Links to both are in the description below. Every sale helps support the channel and makes you a little bit awesomer. So until next time, please remember to never stop using your noggin. And for real, I normally don't ask this, but be sure to share this video around. If it gets enough views, we'll consider doing more non-Pokemon stuff this year. Since last year was 95% Pokemon. Maybe this year will be different. Thanks so much.